The views and opinions expressed on Around the Town are entirely those of the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the faculty, staff, and students at Elizabeth City State University or ECSU Radio and Television Services.
Welcome to another edition of Around the Town with Hez Brown. And now your host, Hezekiah Brown.
Good evening. Welcome to Around Town with Hez Brown. This is a place where you get the news that you just simply can't get anyplace else. And don't forget, WRVS 89.9 FM on your radio dial. You know that each day I try to, at the beginning of a program or somewhere along the way, what I try to do is give you some nuggets and so just to raise your awareness of what's going on around us. Just a nugget, just something to talk about. Just to provoke your thought process. Do you know that we still have so much, an inordinate amount of really not only crime, but violence, not just in the United States, but around the world. And it's getting to a point now wherein it's almost like the government, the police department, FBI and everybody is really helpless in terms of what they can do to address these problems, these random killings, going into colleges, going into schools, going into workplace, and just really unloading on people. And that is something that we just simply cannot tolerate any longer because too many people are dying and many don't know what they're dying for. So therefore, I am still suggesting and pursuing the fact that we have to find some way to address this problem. And certainly, as I said before, that hiring more policemen, passing more legislation is not going to solve the problem. What's going to solve the problem is people being able to learn to resolve problems, learning to resolve disputes. You know, the sad part about our country is that we don't teach individuals how to resolve disputes. We teach folks how to make problems and then run away and watch them destroy each other. So we have to learn how to resolve disputes. We got some of them, the major colleges in the country, some of the greatest learning institutions in the world, but they don't teach folks how to resolve disputes. A particular student can end up having the best grades in the world and don't have any people skills. And they're going to fall flat on their face. So we have to start to think about how do we teach people in the workplace, in school, in the community, in church. We just simply have to start to teach people how to resolve disputes. So much for that. Now let's get to what we came here for today. And I am just so pleased and honored to have with us today the Honorable Bettie Parker, Mayor of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. What a pleasure to have you, Mayor. Good evening, and how are you?
Good afternoon, Hez Around Town. I am doing great, and I am just so pleased that you invited me to interview with you this afternoon.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Do you know it's been almost 2 years since you was here last time when you first set out to run for mayor? And what I like about that is that the things that you talked about, you have steadfast and done those things. And I'll follow your career. Believe me when I tell you I follow you. And I think that's what happens with politicians, you know what I mean? A lot of time they promise things or they make commitments to things that they cannot do. But I went over the list of things that you talked about before you became mayor. And I want to tell you something. You did not deviate from what you said. Sometimes it was uncomfortable in terms of the things that you had promised, but you stayed right with it. So I just want to today we're going to have a conversation about your time as mayor. So now you've been in office, say for, I think, 18 months? Yeah.
At least, yes.
Yeah, at least 18 months. So how you doing, Mayor?
Well, you know, I am doing fine. When I decided that I would run for mayor, I had made up in my mind that I was going to commit to that position and that I was going to do the best that I could in order to serve the people of this community. So I am just so thankful that God has given me the energy and the passion to do exactly what I had promised to do. Now, I have not done all the things, and I just haven't had time to do them, but I have worked steadfastly in order to get them done. I understand that the people expect, if you make any promises, that at least you work at them. And I made very few promises because I wanted to make sure that I didn't make any promises that I would not be able to keep. And this is a new office for me, and I wanted to get in and get settled and actually see what it was that I could actually make a difference in.
Okay, well, I'm not going to ask you this question right now, but before this is over, may probably want to know whether or not you're going to run again. You know what I mean? But we'll save that till later. I want you to think about it for a while. But I just want to it's going to be some questions that I'm going to ask today. They might not be easy questions to answer for me, but they might be easy to answer for you. But I just want to just remind everyone that our mayor was the first female elected to the Pasquotank County Board of Commissioners, and she was the first African-American female to serve as mayor. So I don't ever want this community to forget that. I want our young people to be able to look up at you to say, well, if I want to be mayor one day, I can do it. And I think you have some would been that kind of trailblazer to put young people into that position. And I think that that's important that you do that. Now that you've been there for a period of time, does it ever dawn on you that you're a trailblazer, that you made history, that you're going to be in the history book forever?
Well, I don't think about that often. I have to tell you the truth. I stay so busy trying to get things done for the people of the community that I really don't have time to really reflect on myself and reflect on what actually has happened. But I do want to get across to the young people that it's not about where you came from, it's about where you're going. And your circumstances should not dictate what you will be in the future. And my circumstances as I was growing up did not in any way indicate to me that I would be mayor of this great city. I was born and raised in Elizabeth City, actually in the rural area of Weeksville, and I've always loved being here. I never wanted to move away, but I felt that I probably would have to move away in order to get a decent job. But that didn't happen. In other words, I got to work my full career right here at Northeastern High School, teaching mathematics, something I loved doing, and I loved working with students. So one thing that I want to emphasize is that you work really hard and aspire to make a difference in the lives of not just those that are around you, but make a difference in the lives who really need your help and your expertise. And so that's where my mind is most of the time, is what is the next step? What can I do next? Rather than that I have been a trailblazer or that I'm the first to do this or I'm the first to do that. When you start dwelling on that, then you become a bit, my attitude is selfish, and I don't want to dwell in that zone. I want to be selfless, and that's what I strive to be each day.
Wonderful. What a great response. Now, as I said again, we're going to get into some of the issues, and I think that, as I said again, that part of my life, I call myself a peacemaker, and that's what others call me too. And some of the things I do watch, the reactions of people. Well, I know when prior to your election, there was a lot of discussion about all the conflict on the city council and all of the screaming and shouting at each other and name calling. It seemed to me that a lot of that, not all of it, but a lot of that had somewhat dissipated for it. What did you do? What can we use some of the skills you've used now to help others? Because I haven't heard anyone making that complaint in a long, long time. So what did you do to change that?
Well, I tell you what, I am very pleased that it has changed. And I did go in there thinking that I would have to do something different in order to make that change. And actually, I found that I already had those skills. by having worked with high school students my entire career, you learn that discipline is very important. And it's not just with students or young people, but it's with anyone, any particular organization or entity that you're dealing with. You have to have discipline because chaos is not an option if you want to get things done. And there is no algorithm for corralling the personalities of people. But what you do is you try to instill in them the values that you have. I've always asked them to focus on, that is the council members, to focus on being innovative, be customer focused, be patriotic, be a team player, be driven by doing teamwork. We may not always be on the same page, but we have to respect one another's what they bring to the table. Integrity, honesty, and accountability is definitely one at the top of the list of the values that we need to adhere to. And don't forget, we need to have celebration and fun as well. So I always zero in on what the problems may be. I do observation. I'm always observing people. And then I'm always thinking, what can I do to make a difference so that things will flow well?
Wonderful. Mayor, one of the things, as I said again, I've been in politics, I believe, all of my life. I've served in the school board. I served as a council person. And I served as a deputy county executive to one of the largest and most affluent counties in the United States. And all of that was all politics. And I've worked in election to elect presidents, senators, congresspersons. I've worked in all of those things to do that. And I know one thing, that no matter what you do, you certainly cannot please all the people all the time. Now, here's one of the things that I hear, that one of your critics, and I'm going to put it out here for you. One of the critics is that Mayor Parker don't vote. She don't, if it's a tie, she just refused to vote to break a tie. And we put her there to break the tie. What's your response to that?
My response, my first response is, where have they been? Have they been watching the council meetings, or are they just going on hearsay? Because, first of all, let me indicate that the mayor of Elizabeth City was elected by all the people. There are some cities where the mayor is selected by the council members, and the mayor has to adhere to the rules of the council. But I was elected by all of the people, and here in Elizabeth City, the mayor is a separate entity. I do not get to vote along with the council members. The only time I get to vote is if I have to break a tie. And the state statute says I have the right to break the tie, which indicates I do not have to break a tie. But what I do have to do is I have to listen to all of the conversations. I have to listen to all of the input so that when I try, if it does come to pass that I have to vote, not have to vote, but there is an opportunity to vote, I want to make sure that I'm very measured in what I do and the decision I make. Now, there have been, and I was thinking about it prior to coming to the interview, about how many tie-breaking instances I had. And I know there have been 9. Maybe I'm off 1 or 2, but there have been 9 that I can recall. And out of those 9, 7 of them, I broke the tie. In fact, I came out of the gate breaking the tie. During the organization meeting when we were first installed in December of 2017, I had to break the tie as to who would be Mayor Pro Tem. So I didn't have any hesitation about that because I had had a conversation, an hour interview with each one of the council members prior to us having the first organizational meeting. And so I got a feel for where they were and how they felt about things, and they got to know about some of the things that I expected. So when it came down to breaking a tie, I was very comfortable with doing that because I weighed all of the advantages and disadvantages. So to say that I don't break ties or I don't take a stand, again, I don't know where these people have been. And since that first tiebreaker, there have been 6 others that I broke a tie for. And there were 2 that I decided not to vote, which means the motion dies. And I decided not to vote because in one of those instances, it dealt with a particular entity that we were going to bring into the city and do some work for us that require thousands of dollars that they would have to be paid. That's $100,000+. And there's a council member that was very adamant about that he wanted more information before he voted. However, the vote went forth. And I was thinking about if there is one council member who needed more information before freely voting, that I should at least give them the opportunity. In fact, I thought the council members should have done that. But since it fell on me to break the tie, that's why I did not vote. So the motion dies. And then later on, they came back after the city manager gave them more information, and they voted, and we brought that particular entity in town to work for us. And the other instance dealt with the chicken situation. I don't know if you were following the chicken problem that we were having at a period of time. And they had put a motion forth to just not let anybody have chickens, even though there was only there were only 2 people that were in conflict with it. And so I did my homework, and I found out that actually there were several families in the city that had chickens, and we had heard no complaints. So if you make a motion to say no chickens, and then we won't have to worry about these 2 people who are having trouble, then let's just vote not to have chickens in the city. And I didn't think that was quite fair, even though I don't have any chickens, and I didn't really know that there were chickens in the city, my being a country girl and all. But I just thought that we should not vote to eliminate all chickens, from all families in the city. So that's the other instance. So for those of you who say I don't take a stand, you need to have a conversation with me, because it doesn't matter what it is. I am going to take time to listen to you, and I am going to express to you how I feel about that particular situation, and then we can go forth after that conversation.
Thank you, Mayor. And I think that kind of clears things up, because 7 out of 9, certainly is not you refusing to vote. Okay.
No, sir.
Right. Okay. Now, let's pause for a moment. We'll be right back with more Around the Town with Hez Brown.
WRVS 89.9 needs the support from listeners like you to keep this radio station on the air. Consider making a tax-deductible donation online at ecsu.edu/WRVS. It's quick and easy to make a donation with your credit or debit card. It only takes a short time to keep us on the air for a long time. Support WRVS 89.9 today.
You are now listening to Around the Town with Hez Brown.
Welcome back to Around the Town with Hez Brown. My guest today is Ms. Bettie J. Parker, Mayor of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. The other thing that was around, and I'm trying to get to these things because it appears that things have somewhat stabilized. I know there was one time you go to a city council meeting, it was a whole array of people standing there complaining about the utility bills. They were saying what was wrong and all these things like that. Well, things have kind of died down. What happened to that? Is that problem addressed and solved?
Yes, sir. I hope that it is completely solved. That was one of the biggest things that we had to confront with, or I had to confronted with as a new mayor. And, of course, the new council members as well. There were some older or veteran council members that were aware of all of the problems that were going down. But because I kept up with that particular situation, I was able to make some assessments when it came about for us to make a decision about a new billing system coming in. And so there were a couple of billing systems that the city management was looking at replacing the older one so that we could have a better arrangement of the way you pay your bills and have plans. And they did make plans so that those there who were caught up in that debacle were able to carry on with their new bills and also take on the task of paying off bills that came about during the time that there was confusion. So what we now have is a new system coming in, and they will be completed. The complete billing software will be in place by June 9th of this year. And I think the customers will like it. They will enjoy it. And this is one of the areas that I had to break a tie. For those of you out there that says I won't take a stand, there were 2 billing systems that were up for grabs, and we had to listen to their presentation and what have you, and then the council split 4-4 as to which new system to bring on. And I opted to bring on the one that was less expensive. Was about, I think, about $200,000, close to $200,000 less expensive than one that actually management thought might be the better one. But in their presentations, I found that they both were delivering about the same things as far as the billing system is concerned, and I opted to vote for Tyler Technologies. And actually, they are implementing their program now, and everything is flowing very well. And again, as I previously said, they will be completely in place by June of this year.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Now, the other thing is the most current issue that I notice out there is the fact that the senior citizen building, I understand that the city and the county have agreed to purchase the Daily Advanced building. And I think we're going to change the name for something else. But the Daily Advanced building, and I understand there was collaboration, there was conversation, there was dialogue, and you reached a point now where the senior citizen at Knob Creeks, which I think has reached a point where the amount of folks attending it has grown larger. And so now a larger building downtown Elizabeth City. I think that's going to be perfect because we need more traffic in downtown. We need more people going downtown to purchase from the merchants there. So congratulations. So tell us a little bit about your thoughts on that, the senior citizen building, and what it will do for us.
Yes, indeed. I am excited about that. When I was running for office of mayor, that was one of the things that I was continuously hearing from my senior citizens is that they need more space. And I took a tour of the Knobs Creek Senior Center, and I found that they really did need more space. So the city manager and I and his staff, we started to looking for places that might be conducive and help make things easier for the seniors as they did their activities. And it wasn't an easy task, but what happened is during the course of our looking around, the Daily Advance building became available. And my city manager called me one day and says, what do you think about the Daily Advance building? It's available. I said, I didn't hesitate at all. I said that would be perfect. Our seniors are in their golden years, and I think that they should be treated definitely special in many ways. But to get them a center that's right on the waterfront, practically, and to do a renovation that would meet their needs, I think it would be good. So the county and the city started talking together and collaborating a bit, and county was some members were a little slow at first, but then when they went and observed what was at the senior center that we now have, and then all the space that they would have at the new location, they came on board as well. So I am just excited about it, and I want the people out there to know that it's not going to be readily available, even though we're going to pay for it. We've got all that done, but we have to renovate it, and we have to wait until daily advance is out, and I think that's somewhere around August or July. And then hopefully by January, after we do all of the super renovations that's going to make it even better, it will be ready for the seniors in January 2020.
That is wonderful because it goes along with, I guess, Elizabeth City has been, I guess, looked upon as a senior place and a place for senior citizens. And I know right now there are 11,444 seniors in this community. That's a little bit more than 25% of the entire community. But if you're going to attract seniors to come in, and we've been designated a senior citizen center, why not have a nice place for them to go and to use at no additional cost? So congratulations, and thank you very much for that. The other thing is, Mayor, I know that you have really, really been focused on this whole idea with the homeless shelter, and I understand that. And I was very fortunate the other night to attend the joint meeting with the City Council and the County Commissioners, and happy to see that there is some resolution, because I think this is what I do. This is what I think we ought to find a way to solve problems instead of saying, well, we can't do this, we won't. But so what's your take on this? And I know that you spent time 3 o'clock in the morning going out, searching out the homeless people, and that's I applaud you for that.
And I like that expression you use. You know, we have to solve problems and, not turn away from them. And that's what I often tell council members. I said, we came here to attack problems and not each other. So I use expressions like that to remind the members that we're here to do a job. It is a job that we have taken on, sometimes a thankless job, but it is a job that we ran to, that we were seeking, and so now we have to seek to solve problems. And the homeless shelter, it's looking to solve that problem is very dear to me. And I often tell people, I said, do you look out? Some say, well, we don't see many people homeless. During the daytime, those who are homeless, there are some who are just embarrassed that they don't really have anywhere to go, so they're not going to own up to it. You won't see them. And then there are those who will be out at night and seeking a place in the laundromats and even the post office or any building that's open all night long for shelter. And then when the daytime comes, they meld into the crowd. So we do have a homeless problem. And my attitude is if we have just one family that's homeless, that's one family too many. So I just think that we need to look at this, and we're still looking at it. We're still trying to figure out what we can do. But what is so impressive is not only does the City Council work at trying to solve this problem, get a place for them, but the county commissioners have also come on board to help us in some way. So we're working together on this because the city is in the county, which means we are joined. We are not necessarily joined by the hip or the arms or the legs, but we are joined in helping the citizens. And so we're still looking, and we are not going to let go until we solve this problem. You asked me earlier, or you alluded to earlier, whether or not I would run for the office again. And I just like to say that I don't see us fully having this homeless shelter business. Well, not a business. We're going to make it a business, but having that problem solved before it's time for me to run again. So I do intend to seek office for 2 more years so that I can be in place when I see this come to fruition.
Okay, now, Mayor, we're getting close to the end of time, but I know there have been many other things that has been accomplished during your administration. You get criticized for the things that you don't do, and we do so much most of the time until we forget about what we do. Every time we make one accomplishment, we put it behind us and we keep going and we face the next problem. Why don't you tell the audience some of the things that has been accomplished during your short 18 months on the job? What are some of the things that you're proud of?
The things being put in place is quite fluid when you're working with the city. There's always something going on or something about to get in place. Because at this point, I like to give our city manager, Mr. Olson, and his assistant, Miss Angela Cole, I would like to give them a shout out at this point because they are hard workers. They are always looking for something to better the city. Now, I couldn't say this before I came in the position because I really didn't know. I was not inside to know what really was going on. So now that I'm on the inside, I do see that they press forward to get the best things for the city. Even in their hiring, they try to get the best people to come to this area and give them opportunities to advance. So it's not all about me. It's about us working together and coming up with ideas. And then they're working toward the ideas that I come up with and even council members. So I'm going to quickly go through several items that I have that have come into place since or in progress since I've been here. I cannot give them all, but I will be given at a subsequent council meeting the state of the city. At the state of the city of Elizabeth City, and I will go through several other projects. But we have completed Palin's Alleyway. That's a rejuvenated community space on the heart of the downtown restaurant district, and it has increased patronage for the businesses. The city has approved their first historical landmark designation. That's the Weatherly Candy Building. That is a very important development downtown with 44 market rate loft apartments. And that's due to be finished in December 2019. We have actively lobbied for supporting the Strengthening Rural Communities section of Governor Cooper's proposed budget. And in his budget, he put forth $1 million, earmarked it for Elizabeth City Shipyard. That hasn't passed yet. The state is still working on the budget, but he has put it forward for us. We have obtained $200,000 of Main Street Solutions Fund grant for Downtown Brewery project. And our stance on federal historic tax credits as well as state historic tax credits for the city, we have supported that. The approval of the construction of that new multiplex theater. That construction began actually last week, but it is coming. The construction of an Aldi store, you see that has been completed. Those are the things that have come about since I've been here. The construction of Discount Tire Store, that completion will be in December 2019. The remodeling of the Southgate Mall has recently been completed. The City Council has also adopted the Charles Creek Flood Mitigation Plan, which was done to figure out how to address flooding along the Charles Creek Park. I have already told you about Tyler Technologies, which is going to be our new billing system. In-person training will begin, and I want everyone out there in the community to hear this one. In-person training will begin May 20th for 1 week in preparation for the conversion of the billing system. So that means citizens beginning May 20th, then the city where you go pay your bills will be closed, but you still can go to the satellite one. We received a grant from the Governor's Crime Commission for the local law enforcement a block grant that was $24,500, and that was to purchase mobile data terminals, and that's for the fiscal year 2017-28. We've received many grants, but I just want to throw out to you some of the things that you may see in the works. The raw water transmission line grant, it has been awarded, and that project is scheduled to be for completion of July 2020. Tiber Creek Watershed Master Plan in progress. Rosebud Area Drainage projects in progress. And I've had calls from people who live out in the Rosebud area who says, thank you, Ms. Parker. The Sheep Harney Drainage Project has been completed. And the Providence Road Bridge, the State Transportation Improvement Plan has added that in, and hopefully we can get that completed. Again, there are several other things that I would just like to say now, and I know that we're short on time, but I need to tell you about economic development. You know, we always say it's about jobs in this area, but I want you to know that we have a new economic development commission director, and his name is Christian Lockamy, and he has been here 6 months, but he has hit the ground running, and he already has in place. Economic developers are taking their first steps toward crafting a new jobs plan for Elizabeth City and Pasquotank County. A lot is entailed in that. I just wish I could tell you about it, but I'm looking over here at Heads Around Town, and I think it's about time for me to take a breath. But any other time, I would definitely be glad to share with you. And again, if you stay tuned to the council meetings, you will hear this information at the State of the City information that I would give later on.
Mayor, thank you. That was just a superb evaluation of what have taken place in just 18 months. All right? And I, as I said again, you know, a lot of times is when you work as an elected official, is you don't hear the people say thank you. You know, that comes few and far. All you do is hear the critics. But by the same token, I think that what you just laid out there is what a great accomplishment in a very short period of time. And so I'm just saying, and I want everybody out there to hear this. Listen, audience, the mayor announced on Around Town with Hez Brown that she was running for re-election. This, you if you want the news, you can't get it anyplace else. You get it here on Around Town with Hez Brown, 89.9 FM WRVS. And Mayor, we thank you so much for your time. We thank you for what you do, and good luck in all of your future endeavors. Thank you so much.
And I thank you so much for the invitation and to give me an opportunity to broadcast to the community that we're a city on the move, and we will continue to be a city on the move. Just look around at the different things that are happening, and I think you'll say, I think I want to make this a place to live and to stay.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Around the Town with Hez Brown, recorded and produced at WRVS-FM Studios on the campus of Elizabeth City State University. If you are interested in becoming an underwriter for this show, call 252-335-3985.